You're listening to the AstroMommy Newsletter read-aloud version of my daily horoscope published on Substack. If you would like to read this, please click on the link in the description box below. Without further ado, here is the daily horoscope.
Mars enters shadow. Weekend horoscope for Saturday and Sunday, September 3rd through the 4th, 2022. Welcome to the AstroMommy Newsletter, a daily horoscope that hopes to shine a light in the dark, helping us all see where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. The AstroMommy Newsletter is a reader-supported publication, meaning it only thrives thanks to the generous support of lovely people just like you. The two best ways you can support my work are to share this newsletter with a friend or consider upgrading to a paid subscription. Whether you're a first-time reader or a long-time subscriber, thanks for being here. I truly appreciate you being in my community, and I hope you enjoyed today's horoscope and card reading. Blessings. Good morning, friends. Well, you can find information about all the different types of readings that I offer at the bottom of the newsletter by clicking on the Book a Reading link. I offer natal chart readings as well as solar returns, horories, and transit readings. I forgot to mention that yesterday, so click on that link to find out more information. Before a solar return or a transit reading, I need to get to know you through a natal chart reading. So do take advantage of my new client 2 reading special. And if you'd like, we could substitute the transits reading for the solar return. Just email me and we'll work it out. It is really hard charging for readings because I would honestly do all of these things for free, but I have to make a living so that my kids can, wear clothes and eat and all that. So I really appreciate your patronage and your support. It means a lot to me that you are willing to pay for these services, so thank you. I woke up really early in order to write today's horoscope, but it didn't work. I was too sleepy. And now that I am ready to write, my daughter has just woken up and wants to nurse. Very Mercury opposite Jupiter, if you ask me. I had a grand vision of waking early and finishing my writing before she woke up, but I couldn't think that early in the morning. How ironic. But here I am now, writing and nursing. Not the most comfortable thing, but at least I can type pretty fast. Well, anyway, let's get into the astrology for the weekend. So the biggest thing going on this weekend, in my opinion, is that Mars isn't... So the biggest thing going on this weekend, in my opinion, is that Mars in Gemini is entering the shadow period. Now, if you don't know what I mean by that, let me explain. When a planet goes retrograde, it starts at a certain degree and then travels back to a certain degree. But before the retrograde happens, it obviously goes through the degrees that it will travel back over during the retrograde, right? When a planet hits the degree that it will travel back to, it is called the shadow period of that particular retrograde cycle. So Mars is going to go retrograde in Gemini at 25 degrees on October 31st and retrograde back to 8 degrees Gemini and 7 minutes. Mars will reach 8 degrees 7 minutes of Gemini this Saturday night at 7:11 p.m. Eastern Time. So this means that he is entering the shadow period. This is an important time because it reveals what this retrograde cycle will bring up for you. For instance, we also have Mercury about to go retrograde on September 9th, and Mercury entered shadow on August 20th, and I have had so many technical difficulties. First, my video editing app that I use to produce the audio and video versions of this newsletter stopped being able to save my edited videos, so I had to download a whole new app. Then my printer was on the fritz. It printed out the first page of something just fine and then refused to print out the second page, and it's been a little finicky all week. It just seems to print when it wants to, but not always when you need it to, and we have a lot to print out in our homeschool, so this is super annoying. So what happens this weekend when Mars enters this shadow period will give you a glimpse of what this Mars retrograde will bring up for you, because we will be reviewing and reflecting on these things until March of 2023, when Mars goes direct and finally leaves Gemini shortly afterward. Some Mars and Gemini themes we can look out for in other people or ourselves are playing mind games, trying to outsmart someone else in a competition of some kind, picking fights, especially verbal ones, people talking a lot, the ability to win people over with your persuasive speech, asking lots of questions, being overly curious about things, and finding yourself in challenging situations where you have to assert yourself in order to gain respect. This Mars energy brings a very talkative and hyped up flavor to whatever house Mars is traveling through and hanging out in for a very long time in your natal chart. If you have Mars in Gemini, this may be the longest Mars return you will ever have. So, for example, my 7-year-old daughter has Mars in Gemini, conjunct her Sun and her Mercury, and they all form a stellium in her 6th whole sign house of health and wellness, service to others, and work. So I can predict that there will be a lot of activity in her day-to-day life, plus I can watch out for an inflammatory effect on her body and mind since Mars rules inflammation. She may be so full of energy, and not always the pleasant kind, that I will need to use a lot of essential oils and calming anti-inflammatory teas, as well as make sure that we do plenty of PE to help her deal with all the mental stimulation and physical aggressive Mars energy. It could also be a time of great growth intellectually, and as a homeschool mom, I am hopeful of this last one. So knowing where this transit is happening in your chart or the chart of someone you are in a close relationship with can be really helpful. Okay, let's move on. The Sun will be traveling through the 11th and 12th degrees of Virgo this weekend and not doing too much. It will be making a sesquiquadrate with Pluto, so that could bring up deep feelings, but you have to wait to act on them. The Moon will make her first quarter square with the Sun when she hits 11 degrees of Sagittarius, marking a time of emergence and individuation from the Sun. This is often a time of action and taking steps forward, so you may feel an advancement in your plans this weekend. Then the Moon will make a nice trine when she is at the end of Sagittarius to Venus at the tail end of Leo. So this could be great. This could represent easy and beautiful things happening and coming into your life on Sunday evening. Venus does ingress into Virgo, where she is at fall on Monday, so that is something to be aware of. I feel like the Venus and Virgo energy is representative of just true beauty. It's like someone who is really striking with no makeup, no jewelry, nothing to change their appearance. They just are beautiful in that natural way. It's like Cinderella before she gets all bedazzled by the fairy godmother. She was a beautiful person inside and out, even though she was dressed in rags and such. So I feel like that is what Venus in Virgo brings, the unadorned, unaltered, and unfiltered Venus. The filters come off of your relationships, what you value, and the state of your finances, and you can see what is real. The reason Venus is at her fall in Virgo is that Virgo is opposite where Venus is exalted in Pisces, the sign that represents fantasy and illusion. There's no fantasy and illusion in Virgo. What you see is the reality, and to Venus that kind of sucks because she likes wearing fancy clothes, jewelry, and shoes, and getting all dolled up with hair and makeup. So this is where Venus has to leave the makeup in the bag, put her hair up in a ponytail, throw on some jeans and work boots, and get out there and help with the harvest. Preparing for fall and winter are the realities, and no one will care about the finer things in life if they're not eating enough, right? The Moon will ingress into Capricorn on Sunday night at 10:04 p.m. Eastern Time, and this is a sign of her detriment. So have fun while the Moon is in Sagittarius. Okay, apparently the coffee is flowing. I feel like I could go on and on. Let's move on to the tarot reading for the weekend and pick a card. 9, the Hermit. Again, we've been getting some repeats this week. That's so interesting. The Hermit is the way shower and represents someone who lights the path with their lantern for others. It is someone who teaches about the universal truths and helps us with their wise guidance go through the trials and processes of life. It is also represented by the number 9, which represents coming to the end of the cycle before starting over and thus contains all the numbers before it. It marks a state of completion before a state of initiation. We must complete those things that we have started and tie up any loose ends so we are free to proceed forward. It can also represent taking time alone for reflection or contemplation. And it could mean obstacles are coming and one must use caution, wisdom, and intelligence to overcome them. So I feel like this card for the weekend is reminding us that we all have a hermit inside that can show the way through our inner wisdom, caution, and guiding light. Like I was saying earlier in the week when the Moon was in Scorpio, some people will be freaking out and we need to hold the line as they wake up. I think this is another confirmation of that same energy. This weekend could be interesting with Mars coming into shadow, and who knows what that will bring up for people. So I think it's another moment where we may need to be there for others as they struggle with their truths and the realities of this world. Plus, with Venus entering Virgo on Monday, the filters will be off and people may be very critical of what they see. I think it is also a reminder to tackle any unfinished business, attend to details, and get rid of things you no longer need or use. The Hermit card is represented by Virgo, and since we have the Sun in Virgo, Venus about to enter Virgo, and Mercury about to retrograde back into Virgo, this is another symbolic sign that we need to get all our ducks in a row, complete things, organize things, and clean up our acts. Here are some affirmations from the Tarot Handbook by Angelise Arian to use with the Hermit energy. I enjoy the feeling of completion and resolution. I enjoy exploring my inner worlds in meditation and times alone. I value that which is meaningful and significant. I will not compromise that which is important to me. I will leave you all with a poem for the weekend about the moon. I am really enjoying reading poetry about the moon, and interestingly enough, the moon card, number 18 in the tarot, ties into the Hermit card because 1 + 8 = 9 and represents the external reflection of our inner light. 13. Baby Face by Carl Sandburg. White moon comes in on a baby face. The shafts across her bed are flimmering. Out on the land, white moon shines and glimmers against gnarled shadows. All silvered, slow twisted shadows, falling across the long road that runs from the house. Keep a little of your beauty and some of your flimmering silver for her by the window tonight where you come in, white moon. I would love to hear your thoughts. Please leave a comment. I hope this is helpful. Until tomorrow, or Monday, AstroMommy.
Today's horoscope was brought to you by Mars in Gemini entering shadow, Venus at the tail end of Leo, the Sun in Virgo, the Moon in Sagittarius. Quick links and resources can be found at the bottom of the newsletter. If you purchase anything through the affiliate links that I provide in the newsletters, I will make a small commission, but there are no additional costs to you. I don't share or recommend things that I don't 100% believe in and use myself. Thanks so much for listening.